Hello there, friends. I'm Scott Wakefield, lead pastor at First Christian Church of Greene County. And today I am with
Beth and Liebert.
Mark Liebert.
And we're going to have a Coffee
Convo.
Coffee Convos is an opportunity to hear about the work of God in the lives of our friends. And so today we have the Lieberts on to talk about y'all being team ball recipients. Team ball recipients. For those who don't know, the Team Bash is something that we do once a year where we just get all of our people together who serve in any way and say, hey, thanks for serving. I want to celebrate you. And we go through the 7 maxims of the team code. And y'all were number 7.
Yes.
And we'll get there in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
First, tell us a little bit of bio, who you are, where you're from, how you got here, how many grandkids you have. Important things like that.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the grandkids.
Let's just start there.
We got here in 2009. I've been at First Christian Church since then. So it's been 14 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Long time.
Moved here from Florida. Wanted a quieter place to live, beautiful area, lower cost of living. All the reasons people are coming here now, except
Indeed.
we were the originals.
You were the first.
We were the pre-COVID, all this stuff. Yeah. So our whole family is here. Beth Ann's parents, my parents, Beth Ann's brother's family, my sister's family.
Yep. Cool. What else do you want to tell us about y'all?
Why don't you do the fun parts?
We have 3 kids. They're grown. So we are empty nesters, been empty nesters for about 7 years. Our 2 oldest are married, and each of them just had babies. So we have 2 grandsons, 5 weeks apart.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Marcus and Bennett. Cutest grandbabies out there.
That have ever existed.
Yes, exactly. Until my future grandchildren. Then there's just a whole plethora of cutest babies.
May we have a plethora of grandchildren.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and then our youngest is doing well in Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm. Saw him just last week.
Yes, up here for a wedding.
Yeah. Cool. So we always ask people about French fry preferences. Traditional, curly, or waffle, and why?
I like. Okay, so I like McDonald's French fries. I know that's awful, right?
Actually, they're some of the tastiest.
They are good. So that's my guilty pleasure. Every once in a while, I'll just drive through.
Have you seen? They want their potatoes a certain way, and those big, huge. I can't remember what they call them. There's a certain type of potato that they want in particular, and to make them, it takes a process where like you can only get them from a certain couple of farms or something like that, and so 2 places make all the potatoes, and it's quite the process, and it's very difficult. And they make the fries by putting them through this steam that like practically instantly gets rid of the skin, and then they shoot it through a grate. Then like at some crazy, I don't know, some crazy speed, and out come fries.
Yeah, well, they're good.
Yeah.
I'm a Pals guy. Traditional Pals.
I have grown over the years of Coffee Convos and asking this question to realize the pros of all fries. I've begun the last couple episodes to think, I don't know if there's any fry I don't like, honestly.
Well, there's that, yes.
They are my go-to comfort food.
Really?
It's French fries.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had some good pals a couple weeks ago. I thought, oh, man.
Yeah,
It's
true.
It's all good. I just don't like steak fries.
No.
They're too big, get soggy. They're just, no.
Too much potato in them.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Too much potato. The whole thing's potatoes.
Yeah.
So, okay, with that important stuff out of the way, actually one last get to know you kind of thing. What is something that you are really good at, or you know a lot about, or an expert in, or just love a lot that would kind of surprise people?
I told Mark nothing.
That's
like,
surprising.
I don't know.
That's the surprising.
That's the surprise. I'm not good at anything.
Well,
That's not true.
I'll start so you can think of something. People know I'm a beekeeper, so that's not surprising anymore. I love World War II. I read a ton about World War II, both the Pacific and the European theaters. I know all the dates, all the players, so I love that stuff.
Huh. I don't think I quite knew that.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of talking about things
See,
like
you asked something surprising.
history. Color me surprised.
Yeah.
Mark said, you remind me, I taught English and writing
Mm-hmm.
at the co-op for many years, and I really enjoyed that. So I
There you
do
go.
like to write.
So, writer, English teachers on your CV.
Yeah.
So, Team Bash, Team Code,
Mm-hmm.
and for those who are unaware, of the 7 maxims, the 7th is we multiply influence by reproducing leaders. That's something we value big time here at church because it's like we're given the job of being fruitful. Fruit comes with seed in it because we're supposed to be bearing fruit that people can eat, that can feed others, and that has seed in it so that they can. It's an ongoing, the Christian faith is an ongoing disciple-making process. And it says this for the nominations for y'all, which, by the way, we typically don't have elders or staff members
Right.
who are qualified for getting team balls.
Yeah, we don't nominate ourselves. We're
No.
not that self-serving.
Hey guys, I want a team ball. Oh, wow, really? You've
Yeah.
been here for 20 years, Scott. So y'all were off
Yeah.
as being an elder,
And staff.
and you were not on staff, and someone else is doing what you did. And so we thought, hey, we'd better get this in with some people who deserve a team ball while we can. So this is what it said. Not that was the only reason why. I'm going to read the other actual reasons why. It was just a practical thing. This is a couple who is intentional, thoughtful, prayerful, caring, wise, and directed toward helping everyone around them find and follow Jesus. They've led in pretty much every area we have as faithfully as anyone ever, and they have been a consistent personal encouragement to me time and time again. I'm grateful to God for sending us faithful servants like them, and we have the small window this year of catching them for a football in an off year when they're not serving as an elder or on paid staff, which means that this year's team code game ball number 7 goes to Mark and Beth and Liebert, and then everybody.
So my dad, did you hear my
Especially
dad?
her father
Yes, like right then.
Are cheering.
with his booming voice.
Yes, there is no missing that.
Yeah.
That's right.
At all the kids' events, there's Grandpa.
That's funny. I'm glad you mentioned that. I had kind of forgotten that
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah,
He's great.
yeah, yeah. He instantly,
Mm-hmm.
before everybody else started screaming and yelling and
And
clapping.
erupted.
That was awesome. So, how did it feel to receive a team ball? Were you surprised? How did that go down?
Yeah, I would say we're surprised because
Yeah.
staff, elders don't receive one.
Yeah, I
It's-
had signed the footballs.
Yes.
Not
His own-
because I wasn't an elder at the time, but I had been an elder for the prior year, and I thought these were going out for people who served in the prior year, so I should sign it. So I
We just-
signed my own football.
Yes, you signed already. We had an extra from
And then I
last
was like,
year.
Mark, you're not an elder. Why are you signing?
Well,
So he's
Sorry.
like, oh yeah, all right.
Yeah,
no, we were very surprised.
good, because we were trying to
Yeah.
surprise you.
Yeah.
a little
Very,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
It felt like you were surprised
we very
at
much.
the moment. Yeah.
Yes.
And we understand the purpose of it too, to encourage those
Yes.
who aren't necessarily already on staff or on serving as an elder, just to thank them for what they do. So we don't need that per se,
Right.
because we're bought in totally.
Right.
So that and the fact that we didn't think we were eligible didn't even occur to us.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned it that way and say some of that because, every once in a while I have a conversation with somebody who's like, we shouldn't be doing this to get team balls. And like, yeah, of course not. And in a sense, really nobody who receives the team ball ever is getting it because they're looking to get a football signed by me and the rest of staff and elders. Ooh, that's really a motivation.
That's right.
But it is a way to recognize how people are serving
Yeah.
and are bought in and are embodying and exemplifying those things.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a celebration.
Just to celebrate and to encourage others, like
That's
you
what
said,
it does.
to step up, to to start serving, to say yes. And I think it helps when there's celebration of that, saying this is something we value, then people can know, oh, I can trust this and give myself to it, because it's not about the team at all. It's not even about the recognition at the moment. In fact, most people are kind of surprised, like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, I think it actually builds the team environment that we celebrate different people. And every one of us in the room understands, well, I could be getting that because I did this, this, and this, but I know the value they bring. We're on a team together. We need to cheer for them.
Yes.
I'm thankful for them. Like,
Yes,
I think
that's
it
right.
builds that.
Yeah, celebrate other people's wins. And
Yeah, I've thought the last couple times, I didn't say enough. Listen, there are 20 people we could choose
Sure,
for
of
each one of
course.
these.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
because-
everybody, in a sense, is being celebrated.
Yeah.
That's the truth. We all are actually being celebrated here.
Right.
It's just for the moment, it's good for me to recognize you and thank God for you.
Yeah. Because everybody needs that kind of encouragement.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were going to say something else?
Maybe. But
Was
I
it about your
forgot.
grandkids?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Let's celebrate our grandkids.
Yeah, but have you seen these pictures? So the maxim number 7 says we multiply influence by reproducing leaders. And by the way, if anybody wants to get to our team code, you can go to fccgreen.org/team code. It's on a blog post there that's 95% completed. We multiply influence by reproducing leaders. How do you see that being something that happens in serving and in your experience? And
Well, on the marriage team, we work really hard to equip our leaders, find new leaders as they go through re-engage, to say, you'd be a great leader, come on board on our team.
meaning you're always looking
Yeah, we're always looking for,
Always.
Yes.
for new leaders.
week to week with the people who are there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've been grateful to raise up some great leaders there. But then also, I think it's really true. As we are investing in marriages, these are leaders of their family. So we are reproducing leaders that way.
Yes, that's right.
Because we can't shepherd their families, but they can. So
Yeah, I
I'd say
think
that's
we
a big
feel
way.
very much that the weight of this is far too much for us to carry.
Yes.
And because of that, we're constantly looking for training, encouraging, and thanking God for those who shoulder the load with us. In fact, it encourages us so much when we realize if a couple's in crisis, we can direct them to this leader. We can direct them to that leader to talk to them. Look how that person came along to help that marriage. We're so thankful for that. So I think because of our awareness of our inability to carry the load, we're always looking to give ministry away to encourage. And having said that, we still fight the sin everybody else does. It's an amazing dichotomy in our lives. We want others to carry the weight with us. And when they do, there's a little bit of the green monster in us like, hey, that's my role. Why are you doing
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, as soon as it starts,
Yes.
Yeah.
you're like, but wait.
Yeah. Am I going to be marginalized now?
Yes.
It's this. I say these things because I want people to know we're just normal like everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly fighting motives between, Lord, please give us help. Lord, please help me not to be jealous of the help you give us.
Right.
That's right.
Which gets to my regen issue of identity, and am I trying to get my identity from my ministry?
Right.
And whenever I feel what Mark just said, it's a check in my spirit. Oh, I'm trying to find my value and worth in this ministry and people needing me. Well, that's wrong. I need to repent of that, and
Yeah.
it only comes from Christ.
Absolutely. There are so many lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many. Like, it's crazy how little this actually depended on me.
Yes.
As
Yes.
it turned out. Daggone
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
And when you're raising up leaders and training people and showing them what it's like, it's also, after you've done enough of that and experienced these kinds of dynamics, it's easy to look at others and go, that's awesome. You're amazing. Calm down. You're not that amazing.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that's going to continue to happen. And so watch in your heart for this, and be guarding against this in ways
Yeah.
that help us keep it about the Word doing the work, God's Spirit being the thing that changes hearts.
Yeah.
His work in people that we are supporting and helping make grow in people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic.
It is.
Celebrate the way God uses other people to accomplish his work.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I want to make sure we as a church continue to retain as much as possible is exactly what you just said. Because the work of the body does depend on others' gifts and seeing them and helping them grow in those ways. Yeah.
Yeah, we feel that very much. And we've been leading the marriage ministry for over 5 years now. And I think the last time we were on here, which was about the marriage ministry, not about the team bash.
Yeah.
At the time, I said something about we've seen marriages change. We haven't seen one couple get divorced. In a way that was naive, presumptuous, and a little bit prideful, because we have seen some marriages dissolve and fall apart.
Yeah.
And it reminds me that Beth Ann and I are not changing one heart, not one heart. God alone, you say this, Scott, we've learned it from you. God alone produces goodness.
Right.
He just asks us to participate in what he's doing.
Yeah.
And when we remember that, it doesn't depend on me, but the failure is also not mine.
Right.
And the glory is not mine.
That's right.
But the joy is of being participants in God's work.
Yep.
So 5 years has given us a better perspective.
Yeah, God is just calling us to be faithful, and then it's always a battle. Lord, please help me to be faithful, and then entrust you with the results.
Yeah.
Not take the credit and not take the blame.
Yes. I remember somebody a long time ago saying leaders get far too much credit and far too much blame. And both sides of that in both ways are true.
Yeah.
In a sense, you also get too little credit and too little
little
blame.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the circumstances, and you have to be mindful of what it's really all about.
Yeah.
So, what are some ways that multiplying your influence by reproducing leaders is something that is in leadership as you're leading? We could talk about marriage ministry or anything, however you see fit. Is something that happens in people that we will often call leadership, but it's actually just discipleship. What are some ways you see that happening in your serving and leadership?
I think one of the cool things that we've seen, we read the book You and Me Forever by Francis and Lisa Chan. It's a short book, would recommend it. And the forever part is not about marriage being forever.
Right.
It's about we as people last forever, and I as your husband need to help prepare you to face eternity with God.
That's right.
And you do the same for me. It's about living your marriage and life in light of the mission of eternity. We're all going to stand before God someday. Do I make decisions based on that? Do I think about the mission God has put me here for? We're seeing our couples who are on the marriage team with us adopt that mindset. I think that's so cool. They speak in those terms now of being on mission together.
I've heard more, it's funny you say that, I've heard more of that in the last year or so plus, but at least a year or so from people in the marriage team. I'm like, oh, that's a bit of a shift in ways we talk about what marriage is, what our relationships are for.
Yeah.
I've heard some of that.
So we've prayed for a long time that the marriages would grow in oneness and intimacy. And that's a good thing. That
Sure.
We ought to grow in oneness and intimacy. But we have changed now to take it to the next step and grow in kingdom mindset and mission focus.
Yep.
That they see their life and their marriage and their family as being on mission for God for eternity.
Right.
So I think the discipleship is seeing that mindset be adopted.
Yes.
And then it just reproduces what the effect they have on others.
Yeah.
Yes.
The verse that stood out to me recently is, I think it's Philippians 1:27. The end of it, striving side by side for the sake of the gospel.
Yes.
And for that's
With one mind.
Yeah, with one mind. And that's become our overriding passion for couples, is that they see that one another
Yeah.
plan God has for their marriage, to strive side by side. So that means intentionally pursuing oneness with their spouse, pursuing a healthy marriage, learning how to handle conflict well, all of those things.
Why was that the next thing you mentioned?
But all for not just for the here and now, but because God has a plan to use their marriage for his kingdom work.
Yeah.
Yeah, the marriage itself is no longer the end goal.
Yes.
That's the biggest change.
Yes.
It is, okay, and now we're on mission for God. That's
Yes.
the end goal. That's a bigger bogey to live for than just being happy.
Yeah, and so that's been a change in our own perspective with our own marriage and
Cool.
what we are praying for our kids as well.
Right.
Yeah, because as that continues to reproduce in the lives of others, marriage ministry leaders, people in their group, their families, etc., people will look at this and go, "Oh, these people are growing, and they're leading other people," and you don't you don't need to put Jesus language to any of that. You don't need to put kingdom language to that. People will call it leadership, but the scriptures and Christians have been just calling that making disciples and being fruitful and multiplying from day one.
Yeah.
The leadership part came after. I think that's huge for us to understand in the body. Yeah, for a ton of reasons, and especially because not only does it move the mission forward, but that mission moving forward is about our holiness and our becoming more like God's character and nature because of the marriage, because of the relationship. Yeah. What are some of the hardest parts, most frustrating parts? We'll talk about wins. We'll talk about plenty of wins.
Okay.
There are plenty of those. What are hard parts about marriage ministry, about leading people, about serving as leaders, etc.?
We shared this today in our board report. Life is busy, and it's very easy to get distracted with all the stuff. And for me and Mark also, we're empty nesters, but still life gets busy. And
Because now you're not allowed to say no.
yeah,
Because you have nothing but time. You can't say, "Oh, well, my kids."
right.
Even though you actually can, and you still have kids, and you're still parenting. Yeah.
But just seeing when couples leave re-engage, we always ask them to take next steps. What is your next step? And they make those next steps, and they're good next steps. But unless we are intentional, life crowds out those next steps. And so that's
Hard to keep the intentionality focused on the right things and not say yes to everything.
right.
Okay.
So we talk a lot about doors of escape, and kids, they're great, but they keep us really busy. Work, hobbies, just all sorts of things that keep us from pursuing oneness with Christ first.
Yes.
Knowing Christ and oneness with our spouse.
Yeah. I think a lot of people assume that the pursuit of the kids is the best thing for the kids and for the family and for the marriage.
But the pursuit of Christ and then their spouse is the best thing for their kids.
Yeah.
Right. It's reversed.
Yeah. It's actually more the exact opposite than people think.
Yeah, that's very true. One of the things that we have to just continually pray about is the frustration we feel when we prepare to lead something for marriage. We invest in it. We pray about it. We encourage people. And then they don't show up because of whatever reason. And it could be an illness at the last minute. It could be some strange conflict that they have in their scheduling.
Sure.
And it's
Legit things.
Yeah, very
we're not- there's-
legit. Very legit.
It's not like we
things.
no longer believe in the value of this ministry, so we're not going to come. That's not it.
It's like
But
they
it
want-
feels like they don't
they
value
want to
it.
be there, but something happens.
Right, sure.
Because you are so invested in it personally.
Yes.
You care deeply about it, and you find that a single person not showing up because they're ill becomes this major heart issue where, why did that happen? I'm so frustrated, and you have to pray about it, and God is sovereign, and I can't control this, but they ought to be there, and they're not there. That's just hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
So like Mark said, that works on your heart. Why am I so upset about this? This happened on Sunday. I found out someone wasn't going to come on Monday night, and immediately was like, But okay, so I had to trace that back. Why does this bother me? Some of it was some sin issue. Others was another part of it was I just need to. I care.
That's right.
I care.
Yeah.
It's not just being some legalistic crazy punk about the situation.
No, it's
No,
not.
I actually told Beth Ann.
Because I asked
think
him,
you're-
what's wrong?
Why do you not like us anymore?
Well, she said, "Why am I so upset about this?
Yeah,
Do I have a
right.
wrong motivation or an attitude in me that God needs to change?" And I said, "Actually, I don't think so, because you care so deeply about this one particular couple.
Right.
You've been praying for them. You've ministered to them for years. They're coming to this re-engage ministry, and to have a conflict where they can't show up. You care about their discipleship, their growth as a couple, and what God wants to do in them and their family.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a wrong reason and motivation.
No.
You just care deeply.
Right.
So that's part of it.
Yeah, and when you see what it can do for people and how much it can help, you're like, I don't want you to miss out.
Right.
You're missing out.
Every single time feels so weighty to us.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We only in the re-engage ministry, you have them for 14 weeks. In merge, you have them for 8 weeks. In foundation, it's about a year and a half. But if you think of missing merge 1 out of 8 or missing 1 out of 14 in re-engage, it's a lot of the investment.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then if that compounds and you've got 2 times you're missing, that weighs on us.
Yeah.
That's why I had to withdraw from Hebrew twice in seminary, because I missed 2 of the first
And you're
6
lost.
weeks. I'm like,
Yeah.
So then it does come back. You need to trust that God is the one who does the work.
He's
Yeah.
sovereign.
He's sovereign. He knows what he's doing.
He's not up there wringing his hands in frustration.
Yeah.
yeah. We've covered some of these things, but what else have you learned about leading and serving in the body?
I read a quote recently. It was actually by John Walton. You and I both know him. He's a professor at Wheaton now. And he reminded me in a book I was reading, God produces goodness, and you've taught this from Genesis, for his glory. I don't produce goodness ever. I cannot produce goodness. God has simply called us to participate with him
In
his work of producing goodness.
Yes.
And there's joy in that. But it was a reminder to me, I don't produce any goodness. I am incapable of doing that. And that was both freeing and a perspective change.
Yeah.
I love participating with God in the work that we do, but I don't produce goodness. I can't do that.
There's nothing good in me that is in my flesh.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to produce goodness.
That's right.
Only God can do that.
Yeah.
So we have learned to pray a lot. We
Yes.
have to depend upon God. And
We pray much more than we ever have.
For sure.
Not because we're holy, but because we realized if
the
we
gift
don't,
of desperation.
Yeah.
if we don't,
we can't do it.
how does this thing move forward?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only
Absolutely.
God who changes hearts. Only changes our hearts, other
Yeah.
people's hearts. So
Oh.
Yeah.
constantly praying.
That's probably the biggest thing. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our prayers now are in desperation. God, would you please do the work and
Yes.
change the heart? Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Who has been a good leader, mentor, couple example for you all?
Well, we are indebted to our parents. They have modeled sacrificial service to the Lord all their married lives.
Yep.
Loved each other well
Yep.
through the good and the hard.
Still doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well over 50 years.
Over 55 now.
Yeah, still very involved in ministry, even if it's like my parents, they may not be able to do a lot of physical hands-on, but they pray. They are so faithful to pray, and which again is about the most important thing you can do.
Yeah, it's funny because after you're at some place for a long time, this is normal. There's nothing about me with this. People are sort of like, oh, that's him. He does his thing, and so like the intentionality to say like, hey, we're praying for you or something like that isn't all that common. But your dad has always been one from day one who's like, we're praying for you. Hey,
Yeah.
I want you to know. And this past Sunday, he said something about, he was at one of the local places and talking with somebody and said, hey, did you know da-da-da-da? And I'm like, he's still in the game right there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 81.
Yeah.
They're very,
And they're all finding ways to continue.
yeah, they haven't retired
Right.
from ministry.
Right.
His parents are very actively involved in
Uh-huh.
a little local church just down our road and
Yeah.
know all the neighbors. And
They
so,
actively go to the homes, invite them to the church. My mom's 79, my dad's 77, but they're on mission together in their neighborhood for those people.
Super cool.
it is.
Yeah. And that kind of kingdom-focused marriage becomes kingdom-focused family and kids and their families. And
That's why we're here.
that's why you're sitting here. That's why I'm
Yeah.
sitting here. You said something about your parents being over 50, whatever, plus, 55 plus. And I'm like, that's mine too. Yeah.
Yeah, and our kids are benefiting it, and their grandkids
Yeah.
are benefiting, so we're very thankful for them.
Yeah, those are our primary role models that have shaped and influenced us for good.
Yeah, indeed. Good stuff. Tell us a few wins. What are some cool things you have seen and continue to see from leading and serving in the body, marriage ministry, otherwise? Go ahead.
Really exciting new development is Pillar, the young adult ministry we
Yeah.
have here.
Indeed.
And they are feeding lots of couples into Merge, and they are developing within a culture at Pillar of intentionality and living on mission. They're going through Regen, now they're sending couples through Merge. We had a Merge reunion, and these couples are now, they're getting married, having babies, they're coming to re-engage to enrich their marriage. Foundation groups, which is for newly married couples. So it's just really exciting to see young couples
Indeed.
seeking out mentoring, saying, hey, we need help to know, should we even get married? Okay, we're getting married, please help us. And
Yeah.
one young person said it was a comfort to him to know that FCC had a plan for his marriage, so he could take that next step.
We have a plan for your marriage.
With confidence, knowing he wasn't going to get married and then just be all on his own to figure this out.
That's huge.
Oh, we didn't have that.
We didn't.
Right.
I mean, I know some couples and folks who were like, "Oh, so glad for you all," and we considered them friends, and we,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like you're talking about.
No. What you have now, if you are part of this community, the training they get coming up through our kids ministry program into Youth in 180, where they begin serving, into our residence program, into Pillar Young Adult, feeding into Merge. Then there's marriage mentoring that goes on. Then there's foundation group after they're newly married. And we have two couples going through our re-engage program now who've only been married 3 or 4 years, because it's not about all marriages in crisis. It's just about continually building, learning, and growing. There is a flow now which helps you grow in your discipleship as a man and woman, as a marriage team on kingdom mission mindset for God that sets up the next generation and the next generation. I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Absolutely. I'm glad you all mentioned that one, because it's burgeoning isn't really the right word. Slightly on fire may be pretty close, because it's like,
it's like, whoa, lots of weddings.
yeah, it's great.
All sorts
It's
of
great.
I mean, I like that culture at FCC just from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think that's one of the major wins. It's all of it working together.
Yeah. True story. So the last two we always ask is, what is God currently teaching you, and what are you excited or encouraged about?
Well, when you say, what is God teaching you, it's usually like, okay, there's a sin issue in your heart.
I mean, I don't know about you, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's not with me.
Oh, why don't you go?
Okay.
Now God's revealing the sin issue to me after I said that sarcastic comment to you, Beth Ann.
No. I think it goes, it just, full transparency, is the sin of covetousness. I was doing studying of Colossians, and it equates covetousness with idolatry. And I listened to, I think it was John Piper, and pointing out that the Ten Commandments starts with ibolatry. Don't have any other gods before me. But then it ends with covetousness. So it's, bookend. And I covet, like we said, other people's success, which is awful. I mean, I feel awful saying that, but it's true. God's revealing this to me because of that pride that sneaks in to whatever we do. And it's because of idolatry, because I'm looking to ministry or my kids or relationships or whatever for my identity, which I can only get from God. So in other words, I'm worshiping these other things and
So
not
like coveting someone
God.
else's ministry success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm worshiping that instead of God. So that's why covetousness is idolatry. So that's a painful lesson, but it's good. I'm glad he's pointing it out, and it's just another sanctifying opportunity experience. That's what ministry does. It points out the sin in our hearts. It sanctifies us.
Yeah.
And so that's what God is teaching me lately.
Mine is I am lazy intellectually, and we're called to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And for years now, I've recognized that it takes intentionality to continue learning and growing. And I'm constantly fighting that. Scott, I know you love to learn, and you always have books you're trying to read, and that's been a reminder to me and a rebuke to me, because I tend to rest on the laurels of what I know, when in reality I know so little. And so I've just been challenged to read hard stuff.
You don't know anything. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but Beth Ann and I've talked about
I understand
this.
that. Yeah.
The next thing I really need to learn is something where I feel like I'm inadequate, and I know the Lord has given me the ability to help teach and lead others.
Yes.
But if I don't do the hard work of studying it for myself, I cannot lead others well.
For sure.
And I'm going to be held accountable to God for that. So for me, it's intellectual laziness. That's what the Lord has laid on my heart.
Yeah.
Reject that. Study hard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we all have versions of covetousness, intellectual laziness, no matter who we are, because I keep going back to how disciple means matetes is learner. Like that's the root concept of the entire thing.
That's a good point.
It's a learner of the character and nature of God, and there's no end to that.
That's really good.
There's no end to that.
I forgot that it meant learner.
Yeah, and so we're constantly learning how many things in our lives we are making idols or worshiping or coveting. And if we went through one day thinking about those things intentionally, I mean, it would be depressing. Super duper depressing.
Yeah, God still uses us, right? He lets us be part of his work.
He
So
doesn't
God
reveal all our flaws to us at once.
Mercifully.
Yes, mercifully. Otherwise, I just crawl on. Sometimes I feel like crawling,
Oh yeah, I understand that. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I are I think more similar about that than different.
So
I guess is
it's
what I
good.
say.
God has given us spouses that pull us out of that.
Right.
Pull us out of that hole.
Yeah.
And God he's proven himself to be faithful.
What are you excited or encouraged about?
Besides grandkids.
Sure.
Well, that's
I'm
actually...
super
That's not
excited.
nothing.
Oh, I'm so.
Because that comes out
it's
of
a gift.
some pain that we've talked about and BB&B.
Yeah, I love that my kids are getting to experience parenthood, and they're doing a great job. They're tired, but they're good parents. It's fun to see. It's fun to see your kids grow up and do well, and to take this next step of life and to thrive in it.
Well, and you see the perfect will of God in this, because in both of our married kids who have new sons, in both of them, we see the weightiness of being parents setting in on them. And in both of them, they're already intentionally thinking, this is a soul I have to care for.
Yeah.
They've both either said that or demonstrated that.
Yeah.
By praying for this child, by already teaching them, reading the Bible to them, even though they're 8 weeks old. And it reminded us that marriage and family is one of God's greatest tools to shape our character.
Oh, absolutely.
And mold us into the image of Christ. And so when we say we're excited about grandkids, it's not just the grandkids. It's seeing how God is using that in the lives of our children and their spouses.
Right.
In other words, God is faithful. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He will build his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. To begin to be old enough to see the fruit happening in your own kids' lives and them growing and
And the wisdom of God to use hard things to mold us.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on the team and
Oh, it's
multiplying influence by reproducing leaders.
we love it.
It is our joy.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Good stuff. Thanks for being here, y'all.